iCloud calendar invites are hijacked for a phishing scam. U.S. Department of Defense Livestream credentials are left exposed. Billions of Android phones are vulnerable as critical 0 days are exploited. And the U.S. puts a $10 million bounty on Russian FSB hackers. Justice or just PR? This is Cybersecurity Today. I'm your host, Jim Love. Attackers have found a new way to send phishing messages that look like they come straight from Apple. They're using iCloud calendar invites to push their scams through Apple's own servers. Here's how it works. Instead of sending a normal email, criminals create fake calendar invites. In the notes section, they type the scam message, like a warning about a $599 PayPal charge with a phone number to call. But here's the thing. Because the calendar invite is sent through Apple's iCloud system, it shows up as coming from a real Apple address. That means it passes the usual checks that email systems use to catch fakes, so it sails past things like spam filters. And then the attackers forward the invite through Microsoft 365 using something called the sender rewriting scheme. Now, that tool is there to help legitimate forward emails pass security checks. But in this case, it keeps the phishing invite looking valid even after it's forwarded. The result is the scam lands in your calendar looking trustworthy. And if you call the number, the attackers will try to trick you into giving remote access, downloading malware, or handing over personal information. I'll add a quick editorial note to this. We've seen a similar trick with PayPal earlier. This isn't just about calendar invites. It's part of a bigger trend. We've all been trained, and we've trained our staff to check that stuff comes from a legitimate email address. But that might not be good enough anymore. Just this past week, I got what I'm sure is a spear phishing email that also came from an authentic Apple address. It wasn't the same as this attack. I checked it out pretty carefully. But I couldn't believe that Apple would ever ask me to follow a link in an email to change my password. And I wouldn't do it anyway. But you think they would, or at least they should say, just go change your password. So that was the trigger for me. Because if it was a phishing attempt, and I think it was damn convincing. I think it would have fooled a lot of people. And like this last story, it slipped right past our email filters. The key takeaway? You have to treat unexpected calendar invites the same way you treat suspicious emails. Don't click, verify the claim directly. And what we always tell our users, if it bugs you even a little, don't click, ask somebody. And if I'm a nutcase and Apple really is sending out links that we're supposed to click on to change our passwords, I have only one question for them. Have you lost your freaking minds? The U.S. Department of Defense, like many other organizations, will broadcast live videos to platforms like YouTube and X. But those live streams can often easily be hacked. When the stream key, the password that allows the video to go live, is exposed, anyone can take control. It's like handing strangers the keys to your official megaphone. And this isn't hypothetical. In 2018, stream keys for U.S. Cyber Command were publicly accessible. More recently, just before the Defense Secretary's live stream where they handed out burgers to the troops, the keys for Pentagon channels on X, Facebook, and YouTube were easily discoverable with simple searches. That means attackers could hijack an official feed or insert fake content that looks authoritative. In today's environment, where artificial intelligence can create convincing fake audio or video, the danger is even bigger. Imposters have already used AI to mimic Secretary of State Marco Rubio's voice in calls to U.S. politicians and even foreign ministers. And security experts are warning that if something like this appears on an official live stream, you can imagine this being used for some sort of confusion event. We've all seen how powerful even a short-lived hoax can be. In 2023, a fake image of smoke rising near the Pentagon caused a dip in the stock market. If such deceptive content were broadcast through an official defense channel, even for a few minutes, the impact could be global. But the other point is that if you're sloppy in one area, it's an indication of a cultural issue. You're probably sloppy in other areas. Not only does that make for bad security, but it also makes you a target. Because this isn't the only lapse. Earlier this year, officials reportedly discussed a bombing campaign in Yemen on Signal in a group chat that included a journalist. But back to this case, the lesson is clear. Stream keys need to be treated like passwords. Rotate them, store them securely, lock them down with the same care as any sensitive system. Because the idea of never leaving access to anything exposed should be part of a culture of security or of good defense. Google has confirmed that attackers are actively exploiting 2 critical zero-day vulnerabilities in Android. But here's the problem. While Google has issued an emergency fix for Pixel devices, more than 1 billion other Android phones remain unpatched. The flaws are tracked as CVE 2025-0217, a kernel memory bug, and CVE 2025-0462, a runtime vulnerability. Both can be used to take control of a device without any action from the user. These aren't theoretical. They're already being used in real-world attacks. Pixel phones are protected because Google controls the update process. But for the vast Android ecosystem, updates depend on phone makers and carriers, and these will take time to get patched. And that's for the devices that are supported. Believe it or not, there are an enormous amount of Android devices still in use, often years old, that are now outside of support. So that leaves a huge number of phones permanently exposed. For businesses, this raises an issue. In an age of bring your own device, if more than 1 billion phones are unpatched, and a large number of those might be unpatchable, organizations may need to set minimum standards for any phone that connects to your corporate networks, if you haven't done that already. Otherwise, one vulnerable handset could be the entry point for an attacker. I'll put it this way, you wouldn't let someone connect an unpatched Windows laptop to your system, so why would you allow an unpatched phone? And finally, the U.S. State Department has put a $10 million bounty on 3 Russian FSB cyber operatives accused of targeting critical infrastructure. The group is tied to attacks on more than 500 energy companies in 135 countries. They exploited an old Cisco flaw, CVE 2018-0171, to break into these networks. And you might think, how big a deal could that be? Well, their campaigns even reached into nuclear facilities and refinery safety systems. And that's just one example. Let's just say they got people's attention. But it's been a long time since these hackers were doing those attacks. And the 3 of them, Marat Tyukov, Mikhail Gavrilov, and Pavel Akulov, are intelligence officers. So realistically, are they likely to ever try to set foot in a Western country where extradition would be possible? The question is this more symbolic than practical? Maybe. But it does send a clear signal that crimes won't be forgotten no matter how much time passes. And the other thing is that dangling millions of dollars introduces a different kind of risk. It encourages crooks to turn on crooks. Sowing distrust inside hacker organizations and between individuals is a new tactic for law enforcement, but one that's working. It might not stop an operation entirely, but it can slow them down. If you caught our show we did a couple weeks back on ransomware groups, you'll find out often they don't like each other very much. Some even hate each other. And if you didn't catch that show, go back and look it up. It's good. I'll put a link in the show notes later today. But while the odds of an arrest are slim, the message is strong. You can hide behind borders, but a price on your head will follow you forever. Not a bad message to send, actually. And that's our show for today. You can reach me with tips, comments, or even constructive criticism. Find me at technewsday.com or .ca. Use the Contact Us forum. I'm your host, Jim Love. Thanks for listening.